You have a card. On the opposite side of that card is a letter. You may not see what that is. You may do this without speaking and without writing. You must find people in the room into which you order yourself into 4 alphabets. It is possible the alphabet will be incomplete. It is possible it will be complete, but you must organize yourself in that way. I usually put a time limit on this of 10 minutes, although I have found in extremely academic groups sometimes it takes longer. Ready, set, go. No talking. Thank you. Now, observations. You may actually put your cards down now. Okay, before you start talking, though, observations. All right? What did you see? Confusion. What else? Lots of facial expressions, lots of hands, trying to communicate. What else? Trying to remember sign language. Trying to remember the alphabet. Aren't you glad I didn't say in reverse? Yeah, that's really. What else? Helpfulness.
I saw 1 or 2 persons trying to take charge of a line.
Trying to take charge of a line. Someone trying to help. All right. What else?
Trusting that people were leading you in the right direction.
Trusting people were leading you in the right place. Blocked. All right? Yes?
People matching like me with somebody who had the same letter as me,
So you didn't duplicate. All right, very good. Efficiency? Yes. Right. You saw behavior but weren't sure how to interpret it. All right, yes? Yes. And then, of course, there is the fact of whether I was expecting anything at all. That, that's because you assume when you begin the thing, there's an expectation that you do it how? Right. A good proper order. That's part of our whole cultural thing. Anything else?
I saw fact checkers, finding quality control.
Yes. Yeah.
To make sure we did
Yeah. Lots. Yes, yes.
I was just going to say, I didn't think about this at the time, but my colleague and I developed a strategic partnership before we even knew what was happening.
Yes.
Sort of like, will you be my buddy? Okay.
Yes, yes. I saw that several times. People went and got somebody. It was like, okay, I know you can help me with this. And how on earth you had that agreement with one another, I do not know, because I doubt this is something you do every day. Yes. So imposing some additional order on what, yes. Anyone else? Tony? Ah. Ah. Just because you were at the same seats. Right. We don't take much to trust, do we? Just sit next to me in the chair. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do a second exercise. All right, we're sort of, what were we unpacking with that exercise? What was the absolute central issue of that exercise? Communication, trust. Anything else?
Have fun.
Have fun. Well, I am always about that, so that's okay. But communication and trust, all right? Could you do that exercise with people you did not trust? Or would you? You don't even know if they're lying about their letter, right? So there has to be some level of trust underneath even that communication, or you couldn't begin.
You could do it, but would you?
Would you do it is the essential question. All right, now our next thing, and I'm sorry about, you may even want to, it's up to y'all. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about 3 jars, and this is an individual exercise. You're deciding for yourself now, not with your group. So just write down your answer when you decide. So this is a gambling game. So I've got a big jar, and I'm going to be able to take 40 draws out of the jar, but I cannot see what I'm drawing. All right, once again, I cannot see what I'm drawing. I can draw 40 times. There are 75 red balls. There are 25 black balls. All right? I got $400, $10 per draw up front to play. That's my kitty. I get $20 for each red ball I draw, 0 for black. I'm going to repeat. I have 40 draws from the jar. I cannot see what I draw. There are 75 red balls and 25 black balls in the jar. I have $400 in my stash or kitty or whatever you call it for your game. $10 per draw is the maximum I can put on each. But I earn $20 for each red ball I draw and 0 for black. That is game 1. Okay? It's going to range from 100 red and no black to 100 black and no red. But you pay only $5 per draw. You can bet on either color with each draw up to 50 times. But remember, this is an individual decision. Someone at your table who's a gambler and a good one may try and influence you toward a particular game. So try and understand enough of it yourself to make your own decision. The second jar, I'm going to spend $20 on each draw. They're red and black balls. There could be 100 red and no black, or 100 black and no red. You're only going to pay $5, though, per draw. I'm sorry, you're earning 20, paying 5. I apologize. That's where I messed you up, sorry. You can bet on either color with each draw you make, and you can make up to 50 draws. It's $1 per draw. There are no limits to how many times you can draw. Red and black balls, and a possibility of other shapes or goodies in the jar. All right? No bets, no cash payoffs. What you get is what you draw from the jar. There are other shapes or other goodies in the jar. No cash payout, no bets. Whatever you draw is what you get. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write down your individual choice. Your time is up. If you chose jar 1, please go to the back wall. If you chose jar 2, please go to this wall. If you chose jar 3, please go to this wall. All right. In strategic thinking, research around strategic thinking, this game represents folks who approach strategic planning through a model called planning and positioning. So that's this group. How many, is this the majority, or is this group bigger? Someone do an estimate. Are they equal? They're about equal. This one's a little smaller, all right? Jar 2, here, this group follows the strategic planning model of organizational learning. How many faculty are there on this wall? How many faculty back there? And how many faculty over here? Fascinating. Okay. Jar 3 is a strategic model of constructive transformation. That's over here. And for some reason, they think it's better. I don't The self-confidence of this group is intact. We are good. All right, you may be seated. All right. Now, I want to tell you how your body language shifted when I asked that question. On the first one, when we talked about trust, all right, everybody was kind of wide open, sitting up, smiling, proud. On the second one, we started getting a lot of this, all right? So there's a judgment about risk-taking here, but I can't tell whether it means if you're not a risk-taker, that's bad, or if you are one. I'm not sure. And you rated yourself at the midpoint. Organization 10, high need for control. 1, go for it. What do you think? Based on the exercise, not your history. 9, high level for control. Really? Okay, all right, yeah. 9, moderate risk takers, all right? And you hired a maniac. I'm like trying to get this. Okay, so, all right. Know thyself. That's the thing about organizational dynamics and strategy. Know thyself. So what that tells me is if we have a proposition we put before you that feels credible and in which you trust, that we can communicate effectively, all right? You are willing to take a moderate level of risk, but what? But you have to have a high level of control, all right? We could interpret that historically from the idea of voice, everyone having voice, right? That could be one way to translate that experience. Another could be that you're actually willing to get way out on the skinny branches on stuff, which would fit with the history and social justice for the organization, all right? But then once you get there, all right, you don't necessarily want to risk all the things that go with that. So you're kind of willing to stay on the edges of the tips of the branches, right? Not necessarily leaping into the water, but there. That could be one interpretation of that. What would be fascinating is if we had 3 days would be to have you write an essay on those 3 things as you see them organizationally. Since we don't have time with that, what I want you to do is just keep this in your head. So we are a group of people who are willing to take moderate risk. We trust each other deeply, yet we have a need, a high need for control. The thing we are not sure of is what control means to us. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm new enough, I'm not really sure what that means. Does it mean everybody votes? Does it mean everybody has a say? Or does it mean somebody will suggest something that someone else doesn't feel comfortable with, and so they'll say no? Or are there mechanisms that have evolved inside the culture that actually create control sometimes when it isn't needed? Do we resort to control when we don't actually know how to problem solve something else? Okay? I will tell you that in a number of organizations where I've done that kind of work, we do find when there's moderate risk and high level of control, but also high level of trust, that often organizations will get stuck. Information gatherers, okay? And we will continue doing that as opposed to necessarily making a decision on the data. Yeah, I've seen that somewhat. Any other observations? Yes? Well, it's actually perfect for the characteristics we described, though, isn't it? I mean, isn't it? I mean, relatively moderate risk, right? You can trust that your people are out there doing good work, all right? But you don't actually have to do what? You don't have to make the decision. And if they make a decision that doesn't work, you're not responsible for it. That is what's true in organizations that have a lot of disaggregated types of things. It's normal. It gives great voice to people and lots of participation, but it is rarely particularly adept at decision making. That becomes a lot harder. So, and you heard me raise that a couple of times when I spoke earlier. There's an interesting disconnect, just again being the air conditioning mechanic. There's an interesting disconnect between the culture of what we do as professionals and the culture of what we do in terms of our association. Now, I don't pretend today to know why or what. Maybe we have to do so much on a day-to-day basis that by the time we get to the association, we're like, I'm not doing that there, okay? Or maybe it's because we know the deep level of risk that there is in human development that we're doing with students, that we may do 1,000 great things, and they may still step right off the cliff, all right? So maybe when we come to the association, it's like, I don't want to step off any cliffs, and I don't want to watch anybody else do it. So I'm going to be in this space. There could be any number of reasons that we have developed that particular behavioral set, all right? Based on what we heard from Sarah this afternoon, what is the risk organizationally of maintaining that particular approach? Extension, all right? Anything else? Irrelevant. What else? Paralysis. Mediocrity. Any others? Say it. We fail anyway. Fascinating. What would we say to a student, all right, in that particular scenario? What would we tell a student?
You gotta have the courage to take a step forward.
You have to have the courage to take the step forward. What else would we say?
That you have to learn from your failures.
Learn from your failures. Eric Qualman tells us what? Fall forward, fall fast, keep walking.